right, so I've got Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen on. You guys know him as the Honest Pollster on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Gonna have a conversation here. As you know, Mark's been really hard on Trump and the Republicans lately. But let's dig in and figure out what the heck's going on. Mark, you there?
Yeah, great to be back.
What's going on, brother?
How you doing? Doing all right.
All right, so you've been really rough on Trump lately, and not just him, but all of the Republicans, which at this point I have a problem with the Republicans, what they did with trying to hide Corey Mills and keeping him just so they don't lose him. They gave up on Stacey Plaskett, which is a huge sellout. I mean, if Corey Mills did something bad, he should go down. Period. That's how I feel. And just as I feel with Stacey Plaskett. So you're not going to get any argument with me. I just think that was one big sellout. But your data that you've been coming up with shows that, I don't know if you've changed your mind, that the 2026 midterms look like a wash. Why are you saying that? A washout.
Well, I mean, it's data. You know, listen, I'm not on anybody's team but the voters' team. And if I see bad data and I think it's worse for the country if the advice is ignored, I'm going to scream really loud about it. It's not like I've been trashing Trump. I had very specific and actionable feedback. And the big feedback I gave, the first time everybody got mad at me, even Catturd blocked me, everybody called me a panican, was back in the middle of July when I think we can all acknowledge I was right when I said, wait a minute, nobody believes the Epstein case is closed, and you can't just wave a magic wand and sprinkle some fairy dust and make this whole thing go away. So what they did was they handed Democrats a win, something to run with, and they robbed America of an opportunity to gain some justice. And that's all Americans wanted. They wanted to see powerful predators go to jail, and the polling showed that. And I think that hurt Trump. I think he probably permanently lost about 5% of independents. Maybe some of them came back, but Rich Barris is out in the field polling Virginia, and he's still getting feedback from a lot of the young voters that like, oh man, the Epstein thing really lost me. And so these things do matter. Now, recently, the two issues I see, you can separate these into two different buckets. One is that Trump's approval is not that bad right now. It's -4, but it got down to like -9 a week ago because he came out and was very much counter-signaling his base. Now, the Republican approval of Trump didn't really drop. It was mostly independents and Democrats. But these things still matter because when it comes time for voter enthusiasm and turnout, people will abandon him.
Hold on, let me interject there. Yeah. When it comes time for voter turnout, people are going to abandon him. So you're talking a year from now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we also saw it 2 weeks ago on Election Day for sure, especially among independents.
Virginia was a state with a crappy Republican candidate. New Jersey, he wasn't a good candidate, definitely a blue state. I mean, so I think people were hoping things would get better in those states, but I don't think anybody thought it was going to be an easy cakewalk in New Jersey and Virginia. So I go back to the question. Yeah, hold on, let me go back to the question. How does stuff matter today with a quickly ongoing changing atmosphere? How is it relevant to November of 2026? Because you said he's lost 5% permanently. How can that even be projected?
Well, it can't, right? So when I ask people questions and then I weight them to a party, I'm going to weight it to the same number of Republicans and Democrats that I did yesterday, right? And when it comes time for an election, the number of Republicans and Democrats that might turn out could change. Pollsters have to project that. And if you look at what happened, for instance, in New Jersey, my polling showed that Chitterelli was going to lose by 6 in the beginning of October. I think it would have been worse if I polled at the end of October. But a lot of pollsters, like Emerson, for instance, had Chitterelli only losing by 1. Well, how did he lose by 13? You know, obviously there's some cheating and stuff. I don't think there was that many. It's because they projected that more Republicans would turn out than actually, Republican votes would turn out than actually turned out. And what you see happen is a lot of Democrats and independents in the state of New Jersey, a blue state, they didn't convert their Trump vote to a Republican vote. So Chitterelli only got 70% of Trump's 24 turnout. Mikey Sherrill got 90%. And you could say, well, why that happened, there's a lot of reasons, and it goes into why I think Republicans are going to win next year. But my point is that even though
you said why you think Republicans are going to win next year?
Are going to lose, sorry. They're going to definitely lose. Definitely lose. I'm trying to give them advice, and I think it's potentially being heated, but there are deeper-seated problems with the Republican Party. Okay?
How do you project a poll for November of 2026 based upon the state of things today, knowing full well that the big, beautiful bill won't even kick in until January?
I think our economic problems are much deeper than just grocery prices.
I didn't say grocery prices.
I know. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm bringing that up because that's one of the things that Trump is talking about. It's one of the things they're measuring. And this has been part of what I've been saying, is that we have deep-seated economic problems, basically with a corporatist oligarchy, and that Donald Trump is putting things out that are like, oh, well, we're in a golden age. Well, it's like, no, a lot of these problems might take years to fix. And we're going to see some improvement, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Donald Trump is going to get credit for them because they happen fast enough. We asked about gas prices, for instance, and gas prices are objectively lower than they were a year ago, and yet people are split on whether they're higher or lower than they were a year ago. So that's one of the problems, is that when you run, the real issue is that younger generations can't buy a house, people can't form families, a lot of the jobs
I gotta stop you. You're a pollster, I'm a real estate guy. That entire narrative, the entire thing Benny's been pushing over and over, is complete bullcrap. I can get.
Are you saying that the National Association of Realtors is putting out false numbers about median homebuyer age?
No. I didn't say anything about median homebuyer age. That's not what you said. You said that young people can't buy a house. The reason why the National Association of Realtors is putting that out, because that's actual data of who's buying. I'm saying that the entire narrative that young people can't buy a house is complete bullcrap. I can prove it to you.
Why do you say that?
Because if you've got a job and you've been working for at least 12 or 14 months, if you've got decent credit and you can come up with 3.5% of a down payment, you can buy a house. Your credit only has to be 580, 590, which is basically fogging a mirror. So you tell me.
I think you got to read a little bit deeper.
What? Huh?
A human can go through the process of applying for a mortgage and putting an offer in a house. I agree with you on that statement. But my point is that if you look at the data of the increasing first-time median homebuyer age, which now hit a 40 for the very first time.
You're going to a different data set.
This is who is buying the house.
Wait a minute. Mark, you're saying that the first-time homebuyer data says that the average age is 40 or 45. That's not what I'm contending. What I'm contending was a statement that Benny keeps saying and other people keep saying, that boomers have ruined things and that young people can't buy a house. And I'm telling you specifically... I didn't get to
the boomers have ruined things yet. I didn't get to that yet.
You're still not addressing it. You're saying that young people can't buy a house. And I'm telling you, that's an abject lie and narrative that people are saying. I can get anybody in a house if they have at least 580 in credit score, have been working for 12 months, and have like 3.5% to put down. Can you disagree with that?
What I can disagree with is that I've polled voters under 40.
That's not what I'm saying about polling.
Are you going to let me respond?
No, there's nothing. The question is that I want you to respond to is, if somebody has a 580 or 590 credit score, has been working for 12 to 14 months consecutively, and can put 3.5% down on a house, can they buy a home at any age?
I have no idea, because the polling says that
that's what I'm saying. I do have that idea.
Barry,
I'm not mad at you.
Let me respond.
But you didn't answer my question. You just did. Like, I don't know.
I do data. You do data.
No,
Let me have a chance to tell you what my data is.
It's not data, Mark. I actually do it.
It is data. I'm a pollster.
No, I said I don't. I'm not doing data. I actually do it. I actually buy houses. Well, you see, a lot of the people
here's what it comes down to.
Okay.
Barry, young people are unhappy. Okay. They give Trump the lowest job approval rating.
Okay.
They gave him the highest job approval rating back in the spring, so they've turned on him. Voters under 40 have turned on Trump, okay? Mm-hmm. Now they like Mamdani, 62% favorability rating, okay? These are the things I'm looking at. So why is that? Well, I asked them a lot of questions, and the things they tell me are, one, they like democratic socialism, even the ones who voted for Trump. The 56% of Trump voters under 40 want excess wealth confiscation so that they can have a home buying program.
That's not
and
true.
Almost three-quarters.
Again, see,
I said that.
If you're asking,
it is true.
If you're asking a question that the premise of the question is wrong, here's a question I'd love for you to take a poll. If I could get you into a home, if there are programs out there right now that would show you that you could get into a home, would you take it? Because what you're describing very, very succinctly is a messaging problem. Because people think they're shut out. People think they can't buy homes.
Barry,
yeah.
Messaging is reality. And when I asked voters under 40, and 3/4 of them say that home prices are a crisis, and the number of people who say no is in the teens, and they say they would support a Democrat socialist, and people in the Democrat Party are declaring a national home price emergency, and the Republican Party is offering 50-year mortgages. Those are two different things.
Who's declaring a national emergency in housing?
The Democrats are going to run on this. Alyssa Slotkin was out there today.
Okay, so I have this. Hold on a second. Let me show people this.
Declare a housing emergency. It has become increasingly difficult to buy your first home. And what is more fundamental to the American dream than buying a home, than having property? So for me, you declare a housing emergency, you surge in, you flood the market with building materials because it's very expensive to build a home right now. All
right, so I'm going to stop her there. I'm going to go through point by point here. She's like, flood the market with building materials because it's very expensive to buy a house. Do you know what the price is per square foot to buy a house, to build a house?
I'm sure it depends on the locality. I'm sure it depends on a lot of things. Well, I don't see how it's relevant.
It's extremely relevant because she's lying.
It doesn't matter if she's lying if people believe her and they vote for her, though. That's the difference.
That's what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
You can tell people that there are programs that they can use, and yet they're not using them, and they're angry. Okay?
Whose fault
and when
is
Trump
that?
comes out,
when you're telling people, let me ask you a question.
It's not my fault.
Let me ask you a question. When Benny and she and anybody else is saying it sucks people can't buy a house, what do you think the difference would be if people like that said, I can show you how to buy a house? Instead of amplifying the message that you can't, why not amplify the message that right now, today, you can buy a house?
I don't think I mean, listen, Trump came out and said, here's a new program that'll help you buy a house. And how is it received by people who are in his base online?
I
My
hated
opinion.
it. Do you know why I hated it?
Why?
Because there's already an existing program. There's a bunch of existing programs.
It doesn't matter if they exist or not. If people in my opinion, the reason people say there's a crisis in the housing prices is because they are unable to afford them because their wages have been suppressed for decades, and there are measures of wage suppression, okay? This is a function of the labor market where I worked in technology. I've seen all the jobs that got given away to H-1Bs. I've seen all the offshoring. This was a Republican and a Democrat thing. We had NAFTA. We've had companies offshoring millions and millions of jobs. Labor wages have stagnated compared to rising prices of everything, housing, groceries, especially after Biden. It's obviously Biden's issue. But when people say that rising prices are a problem, and then you look and say, oh, also, only old people are buying houses on average. And also, you have all these Zoomers who basically can't get started. And they're angry.
But
you
Donald
realize,
Trump won because
Donald Trump won because he got them, and now he lost them. And
he didn't lose them. He realized everything you're saying right now is propaganda. If I can prove to you that
I'm basing it all on data.
But what I'm saying is the data.
People take information in, and it changes their opinions, and they answer my polling different. And so, yes, propaganda matters. What people think matters. But are you denying? Are you denying that there is an affordability crisis of millennials and Gen Z?
Yes, I'm denying it 100% because I know you could drop me off. You could drop me out of an airplane anywhere in the country, and I can find a house to buy and close on it in 30 days. Anywhere in the country.
Do you think that will help? Do you think that opinion will help or hurt the Republican Party in 359 days?
Wait a minute. I didn't give an opinion. See, that's where we're different. You're talking data. I'm talking reality. I can take some kid out of a TPUSA meeting and say, are you working? Do you have a 580 credit score? And do you have 3.5% down? And by the way, if you don't have 3.5% down, you can get it from somebody else. It's legal for somebody to gift it to you. So what's your excuse? Oh, the problem is these kids have champagne taste on beer budgets. I can show you. I live in Boca, one of the most expensive areas.
Are you just saying they need to? I'm just trying to rationalize what you're saying. Are you saying it's because they're trying to get a house in an area and they have to go to a different area and they have to get a worse house and then they'll have a house and they'll feel good about starting a family?
Wait a minute.
I don't understand.
Since they're comparing everything to boomers, how do you think boomers first started out?
Well, my boomer parents bought a house on one income with a 10-year mortgage, paid it off in 5 years.
Well,
now we have 50-year mortgages, Barry.
No, you don't.
It was like $7,000.
Mark, you're not listening to me. Here, let's continue with this moron.
Home builders are not building as many single-family homes. We're down 4 million units of housing. That's how many we're short. And then when you declare that national emergency, you basically sweep away a bunch of red tape that is making it harder, more laborious, and more expensive to build a home, right? And
where is she going to put these 4 million homes? I mean, she wants to put 4 million new homes. It sounds great. You can sit there and say national emergency and we're going to do that. But it's not. I feel like I'm, what's the guy's name? Thornton Maloney in the movie Back to School. You saw that movie with Rodney Dangerfield back in the day, and he goes into class with his son, and the professor's saying, you got to have this or we're going to reduce that. No, this is how you do it. And I get heated and passionate, not mad at you, because people are not telling kids the actual truth. You can actually, I would love for you to come out with a poll and say, if you could buy a house today, would you buy one?
I don't know what to tell you. The fact that they aren't doesn't lie, and the fact that they think there's a pricing crisis doesn't lie. And you could say, well, no, they're wrong. And yet what I'm saying is in 359 days, the Republicans have to win the midterm election. And right now, everybody hates the Republican Congress. Independent approval of Congress is 3% excellent, 6% good. Donald Trump approval rating is not that bad, but he's not on the ticket. And what I was trying to do is give them useful advice about the things that they can focus on. And in my opinion, they're going to lose the youth unless they acknowledge that the economy is bad for them. Because these are people who are...
How many kids, and I say kids, I don't know what the demographic that you're polling, but how many of them even want a house?
Well, 74% of them say there's a housing price crisis. Only 17% I think say no.
How many of the people...
I have. I don't know what to tell you.
That's what I'm saying, Mark, is projecting something 11 months from now based upon the actual questions not being asked that are pertinent.
Well, I mean,
how many of you? I can say, yeah, housing's too much. It's too expensive. What's that mean?
It's a problem for you, and you're going to ignore it and lose. That's what I'm telling you.
If I went 2 towns away, if I went to Riviera Beach, which is a hoodie area, and I bought a house for $120,000, or I went down to Coconut Grove and spent $700,000, oh well, that's expensive. What does expensive mean?
It means they're not going to vote Republican. That's what I'm telling you. The generic ballot, the Democrats are winning.
The questions on these polls are so abstract. Housing's too expensive.
How about this question? Is this abstract? If the election for Congress were held tomorrow, would you vote for a Democrat or for a Republican? And guess who's winning right now?
Yeah, that is abstract. That's extremely abstract because it doesn't mean anything. It is a snapshot. It is a snapshot today.
You lost me on that one, Barry. You lost me on that one.
It's a snapshot today.
Obviously. And it gets closer to the election. Obviously,
Hold
which is
on,
why I'm giving very aggressive feedback, because those numbers don't tend to change that much. Doesn't just flip back and forth. The Democrats have been leading on every single generic ballot poll in the Real Clear Politics aggregate. Rich Barris is a Democrat +8 right now. And the Democrats are winning on the redistricting. It's going to be a blowout in this case because I don't even think the Republicans know what the problem is. They haven't even addressed it. I haven't seen Mike Johnson talk about the problems of the youth. Then I go to Washington, D.C., I talk to the RNC. I talk to conservative groups down there. They have no idea what's going on with these people. And unfortunately, the Democrats are embracing their youth movement. They're leaning into democratic socialism. Democratic socialism absolutely 100% has an answer for these people. There's going to be a big $10 trillion bill. It's going to destroy the Treasury. They have an answer. That's what's going to happen. They're going to do Democrat socialist stuff.
Let me give you a poll question. It's November of 2025. Mondami gets in office in January of 2026. New York falls apart by June of 2026. Will that have any ramifications on people who like socialism?
I think it's a flawed premise. Who knows what he does in New York?
If you see New York as it is now, and in 6 months they're trying to do Sharia law and teach people to speak Arabic, and people are leaving in droves, and people still can't get any economic up the ladder, you don't think that's going to impact people to realize, oh, this socialism stuff, A, he lied, and B, it doesn't work. You don't think that'll impact?
I mean, maybe. It sounds like a plan D, though. Like, who knows what this guy's going to do? He's going to have companies fighting him. He's got a city council. There's constraints. And if he was smart, what he would do if he wanted Democrat socialism is to come in and be totally normal. So, no, I don't think it's a premise that is likely to occur, that he comes in and burns down the biggest city on earth practically
you don't think that's
in
likely?
like 6 months.
You don't think that's likely?
No, I don't think it's likely that he's going to destroy Manhattan.
How about some data down here? How about the fact that the realtors in this area can't keep up with the number of people who are looking to bail on New York?
So? I don't know what to tell you. Like, people, there's been migration since COVID.
I'm telling you that when I'm asking you questions, and I'm like, what happens if he fails in with his socialism, whatever he wants to do? And you said you don't think that's going to happen.
Days.
And I'm like, okay, so conversely, if you think he's going to be okay, what happens when Trump, the economy gets better and things start moving forward in the first half of 2026 with Jerome Powell?
You're not making sense. Here's what I said. The Trump administration got a lot of youth votes, okay? The youth liked Trump. They gave him a 60% job approval rating, which is unprecedented, back in March. Now the 18 to 29-year-olds only gave Donald Trump like 35, 36 approval. So they've gone, okay? And what I'm saying is that you lost these people because you don't understand them. And I went to the White House and I gave them advice and I laid out, here are the things that they're concerned about, and it's not the things you're talking about. And here's the things that you can do as Republicans to try to get them interested. It involves acknowledging their concerns and not telling them to work harder, Barry. And then you're saying,
wait. Don't tell them to work harder?
Yeah, that's not going to work on these people. I'm sorry. They're going to rebel against that language. I'm telling you that this is happening. We can see it happening with the Israel polling.
You're telling me the people are going out to these TP Turning Point events and they're talking to these college kids. Those college kids are not going to endeavor to aspire to work harder and achieve.
I'm telling you that this is nails on a chalkboard to a young voter. It was okay for me. Because of conservatism. Time out. Just let me say this. It was okay for me because of conservatism. Conservatism is the right value. Therefore, you have to suck it up and work harder to make it work for you. They will be socialists. They don't care about that. I'm just telling you.
So what do they care about? Okay, so let me take your position. What do they care about? What do they want?
They want jobs. They want corporations punished. They want accountability in the government. They want people arrested.
That's a pipe dream. What do you mean corporations punished?
Antitrust, investigations into things like COVID stuff, investigations into the scamming of H-1Bs, like just tearing them apart and suing them because of how they've profiteered off the federal government. Like, they're angry at government, and they're angry at companies.
Did the Democrats do that the last 4 years?
False premise. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you what they want. And if they don't get it, these people, here's what the idea that there are like a ton of conservative youth. That idea like does not exist, because 75% of the Trump voters under 40 would nationalize major industries in order to give control and equity to the people. I asked that question. And of the under 40 Trump voters, they're split on whether they would vote for a Democrat socialist, 43 to 43. And
right,
so
hold on. Let me finish with this what's her name? Slotkin chick.
I'm not talking about the government giving everybody a home. We're a capitalist country. That's not how we work. I'm talking about our builders being able to quickly build a bunch of single family homes that people can afford. So you want to declare an emergency, Donald Trump? Don't do it on Canada. Do it on housing, because nothing is more fundamental to being Americans.
Okay. So the question I have, she just gave a mouthful. Let's build a whole bunch of homes that people can afford. What can
Sounds
they afford?
rational.
What can they afford?
Well, if you increase supply, then prices go down.
I'm talking a number. What do you think these kids can afford? I don't like the abstractness. Oh, let's build affordable homes. What's affordable?
Why does that number matter to public opinion? She presented a rational
plan. Not a
plan.
public opinion, because for every single person, that definition will be different. So, but you're
but
talking.
For 99.9% of the people who vote, they don't know what the median home price in the country is.
Well, then what the hell are you talking about?
She presented a plan. She presented a plan.
That's a wish and a prayer. We're going to build 4 million new houses and make them affordable. A, where are you going to build them? B, how big are they going to be? C, how much are they going to cost retail? D,
all I'm saying is that what we've heard so far is 50-year mortgages, or the government will help build 4 million more houses. And I'm saying when voters look at that, because they care a lot, especially the young ones, about being able to buy a house, many of them think they'll never be able to get one.
Why do they think they will never be able to get one?
Because wages have stagnated, their jobs have been given away. I don't know what to tell you.
What's the income level? If I were to do a crosstabs, what's the income level of the people you're getting this data from?
I mean, we got a spread, but the younger people are lower income. I don't know what to tell you. There's higher income people here, but generally,
tell me the answer. What's the data?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
You don't have it. What's the age group? What's the geographics? Who are these people that are saying?
The under 40 voters, I'm looking at them. They're roughly 1/3 under 30K, 1/3 30 to 50K, 1/3, it's about 50 to 100K, and then 1/3 above 100K. So pretty spread out.
Okay, so why do they think they can't buy a house?
Because homes are like $1.1 million where I live.
That's wrong. That's a lie. You know that's a lie.
The median home price increased significantly?
You know that is not true. Homes are like $1 million. There is nobody who's getting a starter home, unless they're a trust fund baby, who's paying $1 million for a house. What you're getting at is that these people want the big condo. They want the house on the beach, and that shit ain't happening. You're going to get a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house that's probably got 900 square feet, and it's going to cost you $130,000, and you can afford it. And the problem I'm having with all this real estate talk is Benny and everybody else is blah, blah, blah. Get down to the actual terms of the transaction, and let these kids know, yeah, you can afford a house, but you might have to move to Boise. You might have to be
a 50-year debt slave. You might have to go to Schenectady. You're going to have to raise your family in a high-crime area.
I'm just telling you. Why would you be a debt slave?
Here's what I'm hearing from your plan, though, is that your plan is to tell the people under 40 who Trump needs their vote to expect less.
No, I didn't. What do you mean expect less?
You just said they have to get a smaller house and move to a worse area.
No. It's not get
when
a small...
I'm looking at median...
If you don't have a house... Wait. If you don't have a house, it's not a smaller house. You don't have one. You're a first-time home buyer. You are not going to live where I live. I don't care what you say. It ain't ever going to happen.
I'm just telling you that this isn't. It's not going to work. And the people on average are working for 18 years before they buy a house.
That's their
and
problem.
It's not
they're not being, educated. Okay.
That's not going to work.
I can see where you're going, and you understand, I think, where I'm coming from, and I'm not.
Let me give you another example. That has nothing to do with house prices. Okay. Just give me 3 minutes to talk about the fourth turning. Okay. And what the fourth turning is that different generations are shaped differently by the experiences they have growing up. And the boomer generation, and I don't want to get in an age fight, but I'm saying the boomer generation grew up in the 40s, 50s, and 60s when things were good because we had won World War II, we were a superpower, everybody came together and formed strong institutions, there was a lot of social cohesion, and it was essentially...
You're telling me in the 60s there was social cohesion?
Then we got into the next phase of the fourth turning, which is called the awakening.
Wait, Mark. You got to go back to what you just said. I grew up, my dad was a legal immigrant. He was black, and he had to go and do what he needed to do. He found an investor. This is in the 60s when there was actual racial problems. And he had to go out.
You got to understand, I'm painting with big, broad generational brushes. I understand that there are a lot of anecdotes, and I'm not stereotyping everybody in the generation. But I'm saying that.
But the premise you started with that there was social cohesion. I remember my father being in the National Guard, going out and having to defend buildings because of riots. There wasn't social cohesion. The 60 was a powder keg.
Then we got into the awakening, which is the next phase, which was in the 60s and 70s, and people eschew the values, eschew the institutions, become more individualistic, experiment with things like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It starts to undermine the order. Then there's a period called the unraveling, when the institutions begin to crater, and then there's the fourth turning crisis. And generally those happen 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, 20 years. It's wishy-washy, but in the crisis phase, what happens is all of the institutions have been undermined and picked apart, and we see that. The churches are very weak right now. I can't send my kids to Boy Scouts. Academia has been corrupted. Corporate boardrooms are selling America down the river. Our government
You don't think that's a very myopic look at things?
You don't think that our institutions have decayed?
No, I didn't say that. You said widespread.
Okay. Yeah,
because I can take
100%.
I can take
only 30% of America trusts the federal government, and the trust in the media is at an all-time low. Trust in institutions is at an all-time low, Barry, and that's what happens in the fourth turning. Like, these people measure these things, and so at the end of that, it gets so bad that there's usually a crisis. We saw that with World War II. Then it was the Civil War before that, the Revolutionary War before that. And what happens that underscores these things is usually there's a generation that's in charge, mostly, in our elected representatives. 60% of the people in national elected office are the boomer generation, okay? That will change within 10 years, just by people aging out. Right now, there are only 14% of elected representatives who are millennials. And so what happens in the fourth turning is usually there's a handover of leadership, and because of a crisis, a new generation of people essentially build a new society, new values, and new institutions, restore institutions or whatever, around a new value system. And this has happened multiple times in our country already, okay? Well, what I'm telling you is that the millennials and Zoomers will be in charge. And you can try to tell them that they don't know their history, but they'll be in charge. And so their value system will be different. And what you see in the fourth turning is a rapid change between value systems. You will see younger people at odds with older people. And in my opinion, we saw that for the very first time just in the last 2 months because of the Israel issue. Now, I've been tracking Israel public opinion. Everybody had a pretty high opinion of Israel after the October 7th event. But what was interesting is I looked at numbers 20 years back, and there was no difference between the young and the old people on whether we have a tracking question. Do you support Israel or Palestine more? Like, no difference in the ages. Well, the last time we checked it, Israel had gone from plus 42 over Palestine down to plus 13, and there was a massive difference under under 30-year-old voters, only 21 supported Israel. Over 65 voters, it was 59%. Now, I just checked the numbers, and they're even worse. Support for Israel is cratering, and it's driven by younger people who just don't care. They don't like Israel. And in my opinion, we've seen that blow up on the internet now, and there's a huge fight about it. What I think that is a younger generation rebelling against a value that's important to an older generation. Because the polling shows
what's the value that they're rebelling against?
I think the support of Israel, because Israel was founded.
What about the support of Israel?
Well, I think specifically people just want to see their interests put first. I think this whole thing that we're seeing really with people under 50 is that they feel that they've gotten the raw end of the deal and they just want somebody to put their interests first. And when you have a Mamdani...
So what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, these people are whiny little bitches. Because what they're saying is, I want mine first, and they're not understanding, because I'll go back, because the housing thing...
Here's what I'm going to tell you, though, Barry. What? They will win. They are going to win. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so
they're going to win this fight.
Let me ask you a question based on your supposition and I guess your belief that they're going to win. If they were to do what you say they're going to do, they're going to wipe out the Republicans, and they're going to win next November, what do you foresee happening with the country?
I don't know. If the Democrats get into office, Trump's legislative agenda is dead. They're probably going to impeach Trump. They're probably going to have an Epstein commission. They're probably going to cancel Twitter. It's going to be a mess.
So stop there for a second, because I can concur with all that. And what I keep telling people is, if you feel that, I feel that, people in the chat all feel that, then Trump knows that as well, wouldn't you think?
I literally just talked about this with him Monday. Yeah.
Okay. So if he knows that, you don't think there are plans in place to begin making sure that doesn't happen?
I don't think there are. I think that they have plans to reveal, and I didn't hear this from them, but I think they have plans to reveal certain situations with elections. But as far as I know, I don't think there's some grand orchestrated mastermind thing that is going to result.
And I'll agree with you, because there's no way you would know. So if he was going to declare the Insurrection Act, if he was going to make sure that voting ID was legal and had to be put in place, how does that affect your data for 2026 and 2028?
Pretty unpredictable.
Thank you.
I have no idea.
That's what I'm saying, is that today, based upon the data you have and what you know, you're exactly right. Oh, this looks bad. But there's no way for us to predict, if he pulls the trigger on this, and this, what's going to happen in 2026. And that's my problem with the whole doomsaying.
But you're using that as a predicate to ignore the needs of a generation that needs to be embraced by the Republican Party and is not. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I thought. That's why I thought Betty and those guys were flying around the country. I thought they were all going around the country and having all these college events to do just that, to embrace the young people. And if you're saying that's not enough, then we just need to amplify that more. Correct?
No, I think that the Republican Party needs to be shown that it can work with Trump to address our major economic issues. And you're saying that we don't have any.
No, what I'm saying is, with TPUSA, after Charlie getting assassinated, and they now have 16 or 20,000 different chapters opening up across the country, that's not going to help get the youth to understand what the messaging is and what they need to do? Is all for naught? I mean, is it done? Why are they even opening up these chapters if the youth are just never going to change their mind?
They were supporting a Charlie Kirk economic plan that involved a lot of things that they wanted to do to refocus on young people getting jobs and being able to afford a house and start a famany.
Do you know what the unemployment?
And you were saying that that's the thing that Benny was passing around. That's Charlie Kirk's thing.
Do you know what the unemployment rate is today?
Yeah, 8.7%.
Are you talking just in the youth or overall?
I'm talking my numbers because I measure them every month. I survey 10,000 people.
You don't believe the Board of Labor statistics?
No, I don't believe. No, I don't. Not at all. Of course not.
Right. So, You got data, I got
And
reality.
the youth unemployment is like 16.5%, I think, last time we tested it, under 30. And I think already we're seeing subprime delinquencies increase. Already there's concerns about, there was a higher unemployment rate. I think people saw that there were more jobs, but there were also higher continuing jobless claims. I don't think the labor market is booming. And I think also that wages, again, have stagnated. And I think part of that is because we've had a flood of labor coming in, both legal and illegal, undercutting jobs in America for years. And that was intentional by corporations who are cozy with both the Democrat and Republican Party. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity for politicians to be less accommodating of these large corporations in a way that can prove to the younger generations that their concerns are being met. I think these people's concerns are being met. Remember, these are also the ones that want to see our government reformed and people arrested. Mm-hmm. That's what they want. And so when you say, well, we can't focus on their concerns, that's what they thought they were getting out of Trump.
I never said not to focus on their concerns. What I said was they need to be educated that what they're being told and shown is not correct. And I haven't heard you, and I haven't heard Benny, and I haven't heard anybody who's going around the country saying stuff. Not Rich Bears. Nobody is saying, hey, listen, that's not exactly true. Would you like to have information to the contrary?
You can have debates with people. You can put information out. I think that's all of it. No.
If somebody said to me,
this wasn't. I'm not being accusatory here. I'm saying the stuff that Charlie Kirk was doing is valuable, 100%, and he was certainly reaching people. But I'm saying I measure all of these people, and a lot of people on the right would see that hey, Trump got elected, and everybody's turning Republican, and now everyone's conservative. And my polling showed that no, they supported Trump because they wanted somebody to come in and be a strong man and fix the system. Not because they're turning Republican or conservative. There are a lot of people. Turning Point USA is popular, but Turning Point USA is not winning, is my point.
Well,
it might win long term.
If the system is that they expect that they're going to get $1 million houses and $100,000 a year salaries, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because there's an aspect of just anger, revenge, whatever, grievance, whatever it is, rebellion. They are just mad. Okay. And I'm just saying.
I think I was right when I first started talking. They're just whiny little bitches. I want more money and I want a big ass house, and I have no idea how to get it.
Yeah, but then they're going to pull the plug on your Social Security or something. I'm just telling you, the writing is on the.
Oh my gosh!
Again, I'm not pointing at you. I'm just saying generationally, I've seen a lot of people on the internet respond just like you did when I tell people that it's bad for the youth, and it's not just because they can't buy a house. I'll give you that now. First off, the politics between men and women under 30 are very far apart. The women, especially Harris voting women, which is most women, don't care about marriage or kids at all. They just don't care. They have a 35% self-ID of mental health, and 28% of them are on mental health medication. That's really bad. They're de-churching.
Now we've got to the crux of the matter. That's exactly what the problem is. These people are bat poop crazy. And no, we're not.
But why do you think that is, Barry? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe why do you think? Maybe a generation of telling women they don't need a man. Maybe a generation of telling women you can go ahead and just rip your baby out of your stomach. Maybe a generation.
Tell me which generations that was that did that to them.
What do you mean? What
it was Gen X and Boomers, the Millennials and Zoomers. Who have these problems, these major societal problems. They're not procreating. The women are feminists. They have mental health issues. They don't know their history. It was Gen X and the Boomers that took all that stuff out of their school.
You need to put a qualifier on that data. It was Gen X and Boomer libs that did that, not Republicans. They are a product of their own failure. And I guess let me just close in this. Your data.
The whole system has been turned against you. You're still doing red team, blue team, and that doesn't matter to them at all.
I'm saying that you hate Israel, because you hate old people, you hate this, and what it sounds like fundamentally to me is the breakdown of the American family. There being no higher purpose, meaning a God in these people's lives, and they've got nothing but whining to do, and now they're on all kinds of drugs because they're unstable, and they want somebody like Mondami just to take care of them. And they
want somebody to restore order. One of the streamers I watched was an independent.
What order is not broken? I mean, what order do they want restored? Because that would imply that there's an order. That implies that there is currently an order that is broken. What is broken?
Do you believe, yes or no, that there are many objective measures that show that our current society is worse than the one that I grew up in 30 years ago, 40 years ago?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of different things. But
right.
They're
That's
all
what
on the left.
They want that fixed.
I mean, they're all products of the...
you.
Huh?
Okay, here's why. I've seen organized religion get picked apart, okay? And you can't really point at the left because the right let it happen, okay? And then I've seen the economy. I've seen all this offshoring, all these jobs get sent overseas, all of this harvesting of rent out of these people, rent-seeking behavior, and the massive expansion of credit. That was your Gordon Geckos. That wasn't the left. That was greed is good, like sort of boomer Gen X MBA types.
Let me be the one to tell you
that worked with the Republican Party.
Greed is definitely good. I aspire to be as personally greedy as I can, knowing full well what I need to do is to help others. There is nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with
greed is good. It got us.
Huh?
Greed is good. Got us the COVID vaccines that 56% of the electorate thinks killed a significant number of people. So not all greed is good. Greed is what allows people. I know, but I'm just telling you. You said greed is good. It has caused problems. Free market capitalism has turned into corporatism because of unchecked greed, corporate welfare.
So the only people who can make money in this economy are corporatists?
I think it helps.
Come on, Mark.
And I've seen the system. I've seen the polling industry.
I don't know how big Rasmussen is, but you're making money and you're not a part of a corporatist mindset.
I'm the poorest person in the polling industry.
Even that's relative. So no way I'm asking you to disclose your revenue.
No.
But what I'm saying is there's nothing that's holding anybody back. There's no corporation that is other than YouTube that's telling me what I can or can't make.
I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
How?
My last job was at Walmart.
Robin and I just bought. I haven't given the numbers to this deal Robin and I just picked up about a month ago. Nobody stopped me from saying, the lawyer said, "Hey, you want this deal? Yeah, I want a deal. Let me do the numbers." And nobody stopped me. And I've said over and over to people, and I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever heard this, if the deal makes sense, there will always be money available. Doesn't matter who you are, black, white, it doesn't matter. If the numbers make sense, there will always be somebody who can get you funded. And so if I live by that credo and I understand what the parameters that somebody wants, tell me how a corporatist mindset has stopped me from profiting.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm looking at the trends in America, and these people are unhappy. And so maybe everybody just needs to take the Barry Cunningham school of entrepreneurism.
It's not my school. It's not my school. It's what I've been taught and what's been taught for me over decades, and even what President Trump has done. This isn't
Barry,
my information.
I'm just telling you that there are outliers is not an appropriate response to the fact that people are going to abandon the Republican Party because their values are...
An outlier is an anomaly. And I'm saying I can show you a swath of people who are buying homes and prospering, and there's nothing that's inhibiting them except that these people that you're talking to feel like everything's against them. And so one of the measures of wealth
inequality that I looked at is comparing total per capita public debt to median real income. So I took the very middle American. I did this on the Federal Reserve database. You can go look at it. I took the stack rank everybody in the country by salary and picked the person right in the middle, okay? and then divide their share of the current government debt by their income. And I tracked that over time, and that ratio was about 0.5, 0.6, meaning that roughly the person's income annually was twice as big as their share of the public debt. Well, starting in the middle 2000s, that number went from 0.5 to 2.5, meaning that the current American is 5 times less capable of paying down their per capita share of the total public debt. And that includes a bunch of people.
That's where I'm going to disagree again. They haven't been shown. Everything you're saying, I understand it's the raw data that you're getting specifically from people, and I'm saying I could with you. I could reenact the movie Trading Places, and I would say, Mark, find me some of these kids. Find me a kid who says he can't buy a house. Make sure they've got a 580 credit score. Make sure they've been working for 12 months, and we'll get them done. And that's all I'm saying. It is.
Your answer is to sell more houses.
No, I don't care if it's a house or I don't care if it's a house or if they want to buy a cafe or they want to cut hair or anything. I'm saying people are, from what you've been telling me with this data, people are subjected to outside pressures that tell them the man is against them. And it sounds to me like we would do much better if we show them that is a complete abject falsehood. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's like unicorn farts, Barry, because the 300 DMs that I got from MAGA hat people that were upset at Trump that he was counter signaling his own base were literally all things like, my entire family grew up in this town for 5 generations. I can't afford to live there. My kids will never see their family. I worked for this corporation for 25 years. I paid my dues, and I just had to train my Indian replacement. I'm at wit's end. I haven't had a job for 5 years. I've applied 1,000 times, and I've had to take smaller jobs. You got all those DMs, right? You got all those DMs. In any of the replies that you gave to them, did you say, let me show you what you can do? My job's a pollster. I help give them a voice.
Let's close on that. Hey, Mark, please don't come away from this as being that there's any sort of adversarial. I feel like it would be, we're having like a virtual beer chat. I'm in a club next to you. I've got a beer, and we're in a barbershop. We're in a virtual barbershop, and man, the Dolphins suck. And I'd love to talk to you some more about this. Yeah.
Barry, give the Republican Party your advice. What is the 359 days? They got to win the midterms. They haven't been up in a single generic ballot, and they're going to lose the gerrymandering fight. Right. So it's not looking good. What's the Republican plan to win in 359 days?
Messaging. They're going to have to turn around, and it's so hard because the entirety of the media, I mean, every time you watch one of these press conferences, they just lie, they lie. And so he's going to have to find a way. Okay, here's what I say he does. You ask, if you're asking me, get on the road and start doing rallies again. Get on the road and get in front of 30, 50, 70,000 people. Because the one thing that has changed since November is his access. And I don't know if safety-wise he can do it anymore, but everybody was so pumped up because there's nobody in his administration that can deliver the message like he can. And so when he was going to rallies with 40, 50, 30,000 people were coming out of there fired up. And I think, I don't know if his health, I don't know if he's got the stamina, I don't know if it's safety, but if somehow he could do that, and he put RFK Jr. and JD and Howard Lutnick and Dissent and got out on the road, I think that would change things. That would be the advice I would give him. You ask me, that's the advice. Yeah.
I mean, I told you the advice I gave him as far as like the Republicans need to play ball with him and pass actual legislation. I think that would be healthy, what you recommended for him. I think there would be a lot of energy. I also think he would get boos on certain things.
Yeah,
and in my opinion, that's a good feedback loop.
And you know what the other problem is, Mark? The other problem is, and I think it's visible, is beyond Trump and JD, the other, I'm not talking about the administrative people like Stephen Miller. The other bench of Republicans absolutely sucks. They have no charisma. It's such a drop off when you go President Trump, JD, RFK. and it just goes off the table. I wouldn't go for free to see Mike Johnson speak. I wouldn't go for free to hear John Thune. And I think that's a huge problem, because the Democrats, on the other hand, they got no top, but they got a whole lot of people here that people want to hear. They'll hear from Andami. They'll hear from AOC. They'll hear from, what's her name, Presley. Those people are firebrands. And that's what the difference is that when I look at it and sit back as a marketing guy, I'm like, you guys got nobody on your bench. If Trump were to go away, there's nothing there. And I bet you a lot of those people would fold like cheap suits. And
yeah,
that scares me.
I met Marco. I liked Marco. I thought he was good. But what the polling is just that JD is far and above, higher than all those by like 5-6 to 1. And I think because a lot of people have said, "Oh, I don't trust JD," but he wouldn't have polling that good if people didn't trust him. And I think that he's most plausibly the one carrying this whole idea that, like, we need to put Americans' interest first, Yeah. And I think that's really kind of the important message. And it's like, okay, well, if he doesn't run, I think the other Republicans would probably lose matchups. And the only matchup I saw that JD lost, and this was early, caveat, but I think it tells you something important, is that he won against Newsom, he won against AOC, he lost against Bernie Sanders. So again, that shows you that there's a political realignment going along. And Trump didn't win because of conservatism. He won because he was different than your bog standard Republican. A bog standard Republican would still turn out probably 65 million votes. Yeah. But that's it, and the Democrats are still going to get their 74 million or whatever, right? So
different subject. You just brought up something different. Let's end that. What is this BS about Bush wants to take over the GOP again? Is that true? Are you hearing anything about that?
Again, I'm not an insider, and all I do is I can see on the internet when things look weird. And what I saw was that, in my opinion, a lot of the fighting, which I highly cautioned against, that there would be Streisand effect over Israel, would be a big problem. And it was. They fought about it a lot. And the only reason I could say that they inflicted that much damage, and I measured the damage, it's 7 net points of Israel support they lost in 2 months because of this fit they threw on the internet. Must have had an intent behind it. And in my opinion, apparently the intent was a change of leadership at the Heritage Foundation and an attempt to sling some mud at J.D. Vance. And we can only conjecture why. But I also happen to see people circulate other tickets, like, oh, look, a Ron DeSantis ticket again, and blah, blah, blah. And all I know is that we all know that when Ron DeSantis ran against Donald Trump, there was a lot of money that went from Ken Griffin and a bunch of billionaires into people who came on the internet and caused a lot of problems. And so I think the same kind of thing happened again. Now, I don't know if DeSantis is tied into the Bush family. I don't know. But Breitbart is the one that launched that article saying that very clearly behind the scenes, there's also an establishment push. And this I've been predicting for a very long time. Your Washington, D.C. Republican Party, I don't really think, again, because of, in my opinion, the threat that the MAGA movement has to the oligarchy and to the established Republican order in Washington, D.C., they want to go separate ways. Right. And I don't think Washington, D.C. Republicans care that much about losing, on average, like together as a unit. So that's a problem because they're reasserting themselves now, and I think they're not going to stop. And it's to the point where I wonder if the underperformance of the Republicans in the legislature is almost intentional. And I can't know, and maybe for some it is, or it isn't.
There's something we're starting to agree on. I think these guys are the Washington Generals. I just think they just exist to lose.
Yeah, that's what Bannon said.
Who said that?
Bannon did. I can't prove you wrong. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Mark, thank you very much. I got to get out of here because I got to go get something, take my little dog that got sick, and then I got to grab something to eat. So thank you very much for a very spirited conversation. You got to
teach the children well. Huh? Teach the children well, Barry. Come on, man. Like, they're the future. Give them a leg up. Come on. Don't cut the ropes behind you. Like,
Get out of here. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.